You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to The Real Short Box. My name is Donald, and this is part 5 of Comic Shop Talks. Kevin is with me, as always, and we have some guests here.
Yes, we have the Duke of Newhall, Julio. We have the sensational one. We have Walter 818. We have Aiden. And, of course, we have Raphael.
And Kevin will eventually talk into the mic so you can hear half of that. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that. And we're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff. A lot of fun comic book stuff. So let's get started.
I think the good thing with Bad Idea was, yes, they're gimmicky and some people don't like their style, but they're putting out good products. Like yeah. None of the books that I've gotten from them were shit. Like,
right.
You know.
Well,
like,
dude, I mean, that's how Valiant started. All their books were good. So, I mean, that's where when they first started with Jim Shooter and
quality books.
Well, with Shooter, yeah.
Yeah, they were all quality books, and you want to read them. The art on the cover wasn't amazing. You know, what brought you to it was the good stories that were.
What I loved is when they didn't have a writer on a book, Shooter would just jump in and write it, and then put somebody else's name. He'd make up a name. So like half the shit with names, you're like, who's that? It's probably Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great.
I loved all those books.
You know, he did a great interview, by the way.
He did. He was on that Chris Claremont documentary I was talking about earlier. It came out in like 2017 or 18. You can watch it on YouTube and Amazon Prime. But it's actually a really good documentary, and just to see the relationship between Claremont and Shooter.
Huh.
And like they did not get along. It was just the Chris Claremont documentary. It's
Jim
basically
Shooter
about
get
his
along
run
with
on the
anybody?
X-Men. Who?
Yeah,
Shooter? Yeah.
I think he got along.
Shooter did.
He got along considering.
Leighton.
Yeah. Considering his level of superstardom, he got along with Shooter probably the best compared to John Byrne, who absolutely hated him.
Right.
Editorial, who hated him, and who else was probably from that era?
And Claremont was pretty hot-headed too.
Yeah. No, Claremont was hot-headed, but I think he respected him because Claremont Shooter was still aiming for good stories.
At the end of the day, Shooter was trying his best,
Yeah.
but then as Marvel got more and more into the idea of X-Men being a commodity,
Right.
Shooter
Spider-Man.
could no longer hold back the dam that was cracking,
Yeah.
and it finally burst around him, and it was all like, now we got to put out 15 miniseries of X-Men. You got
Especially
Gambit, the
when
miniseries,
bought out Marvel. That was a big factor.
and then when Shooter got politely taken away and Harris took over,
Bob
that's
Harris.
when
So was,
that's
Yeah,
the
Bob
Falco.
Harris.
right.
He wasn't popular
no,
either.
it was Harris, and that
Bob Harris.
So
Yeah.
Falco took over after Shooter.
well, it was Harris that they were talking about in the documentary. So unless the documentary is wrong, I don't know. But
Well,
they were saying that Harris took
Harris
over.
was the X-Men group editor, but before
Yeah.
him, it was Simonson and
If you're talking about editor-in-chief,
EIC was Tom DeFalco.
right? But Harris
editor,
did. Harris took over, and Shooter was like put aside.
Well, no, Shooter was kicked out because nobody liked him.
Right.
Harris
Because he was taller than everyone.
Well, he was taller.
6'6".
Harris was moved up to group editor.
Right. And when Harris took control, everything like they were even talking about it. Everything became more like an actual company. It no longer felt like a clubhouse. It was all about the sales and what book is going to get them more money. And if something's lower, how can they make it hotter and put Wolverine in it? And then that's when you had
Or Punisher.
Yeah.
Wolverine is everything.
The nail in the coffin for Claremont was that Harris sided with Jim Lee.
yes, yeah,
And put him to pasture. And then when Claremont tried to stay on the books, so that way he could, continue with the X-Men, they just kicked him out because they said there's no
They
point.
saw him as a 17-year veteran, old man that was no longer in touch with the current market ability of these
And
characters.
then your favorite writer came in, Fabian.
Oh no, it was Scott Lobdell.
That piece of shit can eat 5 dicks.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then
5 whole ones or just?
Whole ones.
Okay.
Are they hard?
Yes. One soft, the rest are
I
hard.
wouldn't be surprised.
You just eat them like corn on the
Instead
cob.
Instead of one artist, they're having 17 writers kick them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, all the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
time.
Basically, yeah, it was like Liefeld was huge, so Liefeld basically took over
he kicked out Louis
New
Simonson.
Mutants, yeah,
They
who hopped over
the
to
year of
then
the torso?
Superman.
Was that what?
Yeah, yeah.
The year of the torso only?
And then
Yeah.
Jim Lee was huge, so then that was basically a nail in the coffin for Claremont. And Silvestri actually worked pretty well with Claremont for like 4 years, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Probably 3, but he jumped to Wolverine with Hama.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he was just doing his thing over there.
Hmm. And then when Liefeld, it was funny because when Liefeld was working with Simonson, she would write something and then he wouldn't like the ideas. He would just draw something different, which then changed the story. So then she had to change the story around what he was drawing.
Right.
God.
That she had
He
to go
wasn't
back
drawing any
in
feet.
and edit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was nothing with people running.
No.
So I guess when
They were
those
just
guys
there.
left the
They
forum
went from-
image, a lot of people probably weren't too upset about it then.
They went from A to B panel.
The old schoolers, yeah, the old school fans and stuff probably weren't so upset.
Editorial probably didn't care. Probably was happy they were gone.
Right,
The company was happy
and
they
that
were gone.
created
They just wanted the money.
created an excitement in the industry again, them leaving. So it actually ended up being very good for comic books at that time,
Right.
Because then Image was seen as this huge independent company and such a boon for
Yeah.
other people that thought
Kinda like
maybe
United Artists.
someday I'll open my, and then they were like, wow, they did well, I'm gonna do it. So
There
then
was
you
a
would see
shitload
that.
of companies
yeah.
back then.
And they were originally, I think they were originally going to go to Malibu, or at least some of them.
No, yeah,
Well, they teamed with Malibu.
Youngblood,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
Malibu. They were
Yeah.
teamed up with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Malibu. All those #1 issues. If you look at them, they're all have
Yeah.
Malibu
Malibu logos and
Matter of fact, we
Yeah.
discussed it on one of the podcasts about how Malibu was the #2 company briefly at one point.
Yeah, they
were
outsold DC.
Outsold DC briefly.
Insane. Yeah.
The most expensive Malibu book is Spawn.
Yeah.
For all intents and
Yeah,
purposes,
yeah. Really is.
Copper Age classic.
I had a guy, and you'll love this, Kevin. He was posting on Instagram, and he's a seller on there, and he's the one I told you to avoid.
Okay.
And he was posting on there, and he's like, "Oh, I've been seeing. I picked this up earlier, and it's a Ultra Force gold foil." And he's like, "Do you think I can get 75 for it?"
Yeah, not yet.
And I messaged him right underneath it, and I was like, "How about a $10?" I was like,
How
"You ain't
about
gonna get more than that, buddy."
$10?
Matter of fact, we got hooked up when we did our interview a few years ago. Remember how they gave us a couple of gold?
Oh, they owed it to me.
That's true. They did.
I filled out. I got the. They did a stamp program from Bravara Comics, which is a Malibu line. And if you got every
20
single,
years later, you collected.
I did.
Yeah. It's like
And
right
if you
back
got
up.
every single, I sure shit did. You got every single stamp, and you put it on this card. You could mail it in. They didn't finish the runs on the books, but I had every stamp of all the books that came out before the company went under. So I never finished. Couldn't do it. And then when I wrote them a letter about it, I never got a response. So when we did the interview,
It's like 25 years later.
yeah, I brought it up, and I was like, "Hey, so I got this card. I still have it at home in Ohio, and where's my books, guys?" And
That's such an asshole move. You're like, oh, you know that company you had that failed? Well, I had its failure.
The one that Marvel
And you
destroyed
owe
and
me.
captured.
yeah. There's the principle of things, sir.
So what
And
did
they
they
gave
say?
it to you?
What did
So,
he say?
so he said to his buddy, like his assistant buddy or whatever, he was like, "Hey, go see if we have some of these." So he gave me over like
Where
some of
were
these
you
books.
that they would have them?
They had a
pet store.
panel.
They used to work
Why did they bring them with them?
They had a panel. Was it WonderCon? Or
Yeah, they
was-
just
was-
had
was
some
Long
extra
Beach?
books. Yeah, I
LA
guess.
Oh, no, it was Long Beach. I think it was Long Beach.
No, it was WonderCon.
WonderCon. It was WonderCon.
It was
Okay.
WonderCon, and then they were just like they just had some extra Malibu books from the panel because they were going to show them and talk about them and stuff. So they gave them.
You know
to
what
me
that sounds
afterwards.
like? It sounds like those has-been actors that keep their headshots.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in their attaché case.
Yeah.
In a way, but all these guys have gone on to some success, so
Yeah.
they're not really has-beens in
Right.
by any means.
That's
So
cool.
they're
They're
still very relevant.
And what's funny, remember we asked him about
Was some in jail?
contractually?
Gerard Jones.
Oh, is he in jail? I know he got in trouble for
Some trouble.
Yeah.
Some trouble.
Yeah.
Some issues.
No, he got convicted.
Now
Yeah.
here's a question.
That's why you're never going to see
leading
any of his books reprinted.
slightly off
Which is a
topic,
lot.
but on topic.
Malibu.
CGC being bought out by Jay-Z's group.
Are you serious? I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You didn't
Black-
see the meme? I got
Blackstone.
98,
Blackstone.
9.8
Blackstone.
problems, but CGC ain't
Ain't
one.
one. Blackstone.
CGC.
Blackstone is
That's
buying.
pretty good.
Is buying CGC, which
Or
is
they
owned.
did.
Well, they have
finalized the deal yet.
Well, the deal's done. It's
Oh,
just
done.
there's logistics to get the deal done.
Right, legal stuff, yeah.
Right. That and Jay-Z is basically the head
Chairman of the board,
or
It's
he had the majority
He's
of
a
money
primary
owner.
investor.
yeah.
majority stake.
And we had a guy who we find to be entertaining. Discussed this in his Instagram and how Jay-Z's buying. You know, see Sage's video
Oh,
about
Yeah.
how Jay-Z's jumping into the game, but how comic book guys have done it. But if you think about it, there's a lot of artists that are collectors. Guys from the Wu-Tang.
Method Man.
Yeah,
Big
huge
time
comic collector.
Big time collector.
You know, Nicolas Cage was a huge collector before he sold all his stuff. But there's a lot of guys who. So for Jay-Z, this is kind of like a way to make a shitload of money, but also he was also a collector.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a way for him to,
Nerd out a little bit.
because he gets to go in there and see all these big books that come in all the time or whatever. See, I didn't know it, but CGC actually sells their own graded books. Not books that you send in, but they have books that they grade and they sell on their website.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, a lot of 9/8s.
Which is,
Yeah,
which
which
is,
is-
but then you think about it, how fair, how right is that?
No, they
Conflict of
shouldn't do
interest
that. It's a
there, huh?
conflict of
Big
interest.
interest.
Time
How
conflict.
do you?
Does CBCS do the same thing? Or
I'm certain that all of them. do
I'm
that.
sure.
Would they keep the good books?
No. What they do is they have their own books that they buy and they get graded, and then they sell them. And I'm certain that, they're. I mean, I don't know. Some people say that they don't give out a lot of 9/8s because they don't want to flood the market with 9/8s. So they sometimes don't. They'll grade it lower because they don't want to have. They don't want to say that they're always giving people 9/8s.
I sense a conspiracy.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying what people say.
So it's just so
Yeah.
now the two
Yeah.
major rating companies have now been bought out. So Beckett, which bought out CBCS a couple years ago, and now
Where's the buyer for PGX? Yeah.
I think We Could Be Heroes would be an excellent buyer of PGX or purchaser of the PGX.
I'm not gonna comment
What
on
are
it.
you buying if you're buying PGX outside
Yeah.
of like that pressing machine, that encapsulation
Yeah,
machine?
yeah.
In Oregon, it's based in Oregon. So,
Yeah.
you're
They still
buying-
have
That's the
name.
question, though. If you buy PGX,
Is it a
right?
good name?
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing is, if a different company bought PGX and you publicized that a different company was taking it over, the sins have been erased. All you got to do is set up for improvement.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
All
I'm
you
not
gotta do-
Catholic.
And you
I'm
have
not
a
Catholic.
name.
No, but I'm
you gotta
saying
wipe away the
you
sins.
got to get rid of everybody and say you're taking it over and you're going to make improvements and you wiped out all the shit and you're basically
Just start
starting a
your
new
own
company. Bam! You're also eliminating one
You're
at
not,
the same time.
You're not. No one's.
Oh, there are
shit
people do
anyways.
it all
How
the
about
time. now.
WCHC grading?
No.
Yeah, that's why. Just like make it. You don't have to be a PGX. Doesn't have to be a CGC. Doesn't
No,
have to
the
be
grading
a
company.
CBCS.
Now, Julio will tell
Yeah,
you-
Just say graded.
Yeah,
You
Julio
know,
will
or
tell
something
you.
like that.
Julio will tell you. Beckett makes some of the nicer cases.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Their cases are clear, right?
My CBCS cases do look nice.
I didn't say CBCS. I
Oh,
said Beckett.
Beckett.
Oh, for the cards. You mean?
Yeah,
No,
also,
Beckett they do comics too.
They do comics too. They grade like you can get their a comic that has signatures on it. They verify the signatures and they
They don't grade the comic
encapsulate.
book. They encapsulate it and they give you a grade on the signature itself.
Yeah, and the cases are really nice.
Super clear. We saw them at the con.
Yeah,
The,
I just
the
showed that there was
Semicon.
one
You
on
giving me
there.
ideas now.
Yeah, you can.
And-
it's a
Do
great
you
idea.
do you have
Any
big-
size.
Dude,
Oh,
any
that's-
size.
Any
you
size.
can do a
That's-
treasure. You could do a
So all
treasury.
my treasury books, I can
You
have
can-
them.
But,
Great.
but if
They
you,
won't be graded. They'll be encased,
Encapsulated.
but they won't be
will
graded.
they encase it even if there's no autograph involved?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
The
All
so
right.
so like PSA DNA
Uh huh.
will encase a comic for a price. You can set a card in. Say, I don't want my card graded. I just want it encased, and they'll encase it. And it's okay. I want the signature verified and encased, and then they'll charge you for that. And then you say I want it graded. It's a different story. But they will encase a card and not grade it for a different price. They charge
PSA
you for the-
DNA actually grades signatures. Grades them. Like
You know,
the
if
quality of the
if
signature.
there's a
Weird.
no.
It is weird.
No, what they do is they're grading like they're grading the fact is
Yeah.
is it off because and I'll tell you why. Baseball cards and basketball cards have started this new thing where they go to a meet and they go to like say for instance it's like Michael Jordan and you take a sheet 2, 4, 5 giant sheets of these clear stickers and Jordan will sign all those clear stickers on every one of those stickers and then they'll print his cards and take the sticker and put it on each card. So there's a difference. There's an on-card signature, which means Jordan signed the card
Officially.
itself
Yeah.
in front of one of them. There's a sticker auto where he signed on a sticker, and the sticker went on the card later, which means they have Jordan for 5 hours. The cards aren't printed yet, so they have them do on a sticker, and then when the cards are printed, they'll put it on a sticker. And then sometimes you'll get in a pack where it's a redemption card, where it's a piece of paper that says you'll get a Michael Jordan autograph that you have to then send in to be redeemed because the card wasn't created yet.
I'd rather have that than a sticker.
Right. So what ends up happening is that PSA DNA is they grade it based on, is the signature off-centered, is it centered, is it smudged, how clear is it, if it's on sticker auto, did it come off the sticker, so now you're missing part of the letter, because he signs really big and now the loop's not there because he went over the sticker. So the grade is based on how clear it is,
Quality.
is it quality of sticker, is it smudged, because sometimes you'll get a card, but, oh shit, autograph, check it out, and then you'll
Right.
fuck up the signature, and then when you send it in, it looks all smudged or unreadable, so that's what they grade. And they do that for baseballs all the time. You send a baseball and they get graded, they look at the signature and say, is it sun faded? Someone had a Mickey Mantle on the shelf and the sun hit it, and when it was just a ballpoint pen, now you can barely see
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, so that's what they graded. They graded based on that.
I had a Nolan Ryan autographed ball, right? And I was little, and when I got it, so I took it out of the case, and I put my hands on it,
Oh no.
and I was looking at it, and then I put it back in the case, right? I did that probably like 5 or 6 times to show people. Over the years, about probably like when I went back home to visit, like maybe 15 years ago or something, when I pulled that out, it had yellow
Your fingers
hands
See, 'cause
all
the
around
oil-
the signature, not
Yeah, 'cause
on the signature,
the
but all
oil.
around it.
The oily hands.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck.
But it can be clean though.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably could be, but like,
Don't you hate your 12-year-old self now?
well, no, I mean, I mean, I can,
I
like he's
hate
saying,
it
I
as
could
well.
get it clean, but I just went and I got another one, like, because they were cheap, like, it's not like that long ago
It's
that
still
that
alive.
shit was still cheap.
Yeah, you can still go.
Yeah,
get
and
his-
he's
the
still
Texas.
alive and will sign it, so I just got another ball that was already signed and already had a case, and I was like, I'm not touching this son of a bitch.
But you know what makes the ball that you know how you deter the ball that you had signed when you were 12. Why when you would sell it, it'd be worth more than the ball you bought brand new. It's determined by who the commissioner in baseball was on that baseball.
Was it Faye Vincent? At the
No,
time?
because it tells you what year the baseball was made. So you can have Nolan Ryan go sign a
no
ball,
shit.
and they look at the baseball
Giamatti's
and
father.
they look at the commissioner, and it'll tell them, who the commissioner at the time was. Now, commissioner could be there for 10, 15 years. Then it's determined by what's used for the stitches, and so guy who prices the ball can look at it and tell
That's
you
insane.
can tell you, okay, well, Bug Selig signed it, so we know Bug Selig was commissioner from this year to this year, and then they can determine based on, what color stitching, whatever they can tell by the ball itself what year the ball was made.
A ball that I kind of see what you're saying. So a ball that was signed, maybe that you got signed on the field by somebody, is going to be worth more than, like, let's say, so you got Babe Ruth or something to sign it, and you were there when he hit a home run or whatever, and he signed your ball. That's going to definitely be more valuable than, and they can authenticate that, than if it's after he retired and he needed the money and he was just signing 50,000 balls or whatever.
Pete Rose, it's the Pete Rose story, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you buy a ball that Pete Rose signed in his rookie year, and the commissioner, that was the commissioner's last year being a commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
So they go and look, oh, it's Bug Selig. He retired in, 96, and that was the first year of, let's say, Pete Rose, 96, which is not, but then they can tell you that ball was signed in his rookie year, and he didn't sign very often. Where you look at now, Pete Rose will sign anything, and he signs
Right.
millions of things, and he'll put whatever you want it. Sorry, I bet.
Stan Lee of baseball.
Yeah, I got 4 baseballs that are signed by Pete Rose that say, "Sorry, I bet on baseball."
You have 4 of them?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
you catch it.
Yeah,
I
he
caught him
was
on
doing
a.
that after like maybe 10
That was his
years
gimmick.
ago.
That was his gimmick. I caught him on a flight on the way to Cincinnati, home to Cincinnati, right? And he's wearing it's like he's sitting coach, and I'm sitting next to him in coach, and I happened,
shit.
I went to go see a Reds game, had a baseball with me, and he happened to be sitting there and I asked him what he signed. I said, sure.
What are
do you
the
want to
odds?
say? I go, can you just put future Hall of Famer? So he signed one. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose, sorry I bet on baseball. He did all kind of shit. But that's what I'm saying. So baseballs can be determined.
Signed it for free?
Of course, B-rolls. When you're on the plane, they're not gonna charge me right then and there. He gets out his square. He's out his square. You know.
I would doubt it.
That's what I figured he would do.
Yeah, I was like,
You know.
You were on the plane with multiple baseballs?
Yeah, I was going to Cincinnati for a baseball game. So
You got baseballs in Cincinnati you could pick up?
yeah, probably, but they're cheaper where I get them from.
And you know
So,
what? Now
I'm
we
a
know
cheapskate. What are
you
talking
gotta
about?
have that shit when you're going on a plane.
yeah, 'cause you
Seriously.
never
So,
know.
there you go.
I'm
Nancy.
flying back.
carry,
Jose
like,
Canseco,
footballs
right?
and
Jose
basketballs
Canseco or
with you, too?
something.
I'm flying back in like 3 weeks or so to go back to Ohio, and I'm going to go to a couple Indians games. I'm going to buy a couple balls and bring with me for on the plane just in case.
Well, you should bring a couple
Just in
people because
case.
ain't nobody gonna be in that fucking stadium with you.
Yeah.
Bring some fans with you.
Hey, the Indians they're shut your mouth.
Yankees.
Tribe.
No, Indians suck dick.
They sure do. Indians. You said it. Indians suck.
No, they don't. The Yankees suck dick.
Wait. You said what you said. We got it recorded.
Yeah, well, that ain't gonna stay. Obviously, I'm gonna take that out. I'm the one editing this shit.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm
about
gonna
that.
I'm gonna edit the way when you talk. You're gonna say I suck dick. That's what you're gonna say.
What'd you just say?
Yeah, that's what Kevin's gonna say.
Well, I have the original.
You
recording.
manipulated his voice every night, don't you?
I mean, if you look at comic wise, people can determine. Well, CCC, if it's verified by CCC, they can tell you what month or year it was signed.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes if you look at Stan Lee's signatures, you can tell
Just by the
his
way it
early years when he was still young and he was signing,
Although-
and the years when he would hold his hand and say, just
Although, as
Zombie
you know,
stand.
Yeah.
they made mistakes. I have
Yeah.
a book that they famously made a mistake on. A book he signed 5 years earlier, and they thought he signed it at that particular con. So I lucked out.
Right.
Famous
Say-
for among yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
it was that
Yeah.
one con that
And
you went to
we-
that no one told you.
We can
about,
all,
right?
you and I can talk about that time that we went and saw the guy that
Oh
created.
no, the Gumby man.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was
Art
terrible.
Clokey.
Yeah,
That was
Art
terrible.
Clokey created Gumby, and he was at the Shrine. For
Oh,
those that are
yeah.
that are old school, the Shrine was
Back in 2006, I
a
believe.
comic book convention at a place called the Shrine. So they just called it the
Trying
Shrine.
out Shrine. Famous
Yeah.
for the Oscars.
The
and all
Oscars.
that.
It was one of the places I
Michael
was-
Jackson
More,
moonwalked
Is it still
more
there? Is it still
famous
there?
for comic books.
Shrine I saw Zoo, what was that?
Is it?
It was like 2 months before COVID. Shrine
Oh,
still
Yeah, no.
No, it
But
was-
this is like the bad side.
Yeah, it's the
You're
bad
still
side.
talking about the fancy side, the
Yeah.
good side for the Shrine. We're talking about the gymnasium
Yeah.
where they would throw you and be
there's a
like,
bunch of
don't
yuppies
mind the
down there."
smell.
Yeah.
And you would just put up with it, and everything's leaking, and there's shit on the floor, and there's literally homeless outside.
I've never went there
Good
when there was
memories.
shit on the the floor.
I usually am the one that did that.
Oh.
So.
But,
You know,
but
hey.
this is a sad story, though. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what it reminds me of? You see the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Yeah.
You
So-
remember the thing with Grandpa and the hammer? Come on, Grandpa!
Yeah, yeah.
You know, blasting the hat. That's exactly what Mr. What's the gentleman's name? The former
Art
company
Clokey.
creator? Art Clokey reminded me of. They had to basically force his signature with his hand, and I wanted to go get his signature myself, and then I saw that, and I can't do that.
Because it's not him
It's just not
signing it.
him.
It's in
It's
his
not him.
hand, but
When
the
you
other
said-
guy is
when-
literally moving it.
When you said shit on the floor, fucking homeless people outside, I thought you were talking about Madison Square Garden.
Oh! How dare you insult MSG?
or Yankee
How
Stadium.
dare you? MSG is a classic.
No. Hey, whenever
She's the palace.
when I
Thank you.
went to New York for the first time, I wanted to go to the
You
Garden,
said there was roses
and I saw
and
I saw
shit
the Lakers play the Knicks at the Garden. And yes, you're at the Mecca of basketball at
That's
the Garden,
right. Yes, you are.
but the
Yeah,
Mecca
you
of
were
basketball,
going out when there was
trash.
Trash.
Strippers and hookers.
No, what I'm saying is that it's such. Look, it's in the central part of the city. The rail lines run underneath it. Runs underneath it. You can take a subway there, get up and go up to the Garden. After the Garden, go down and something, get
the
up there.
ambiance.
It's
like
so
fucking
great, but
And the Oregon plane.
the amount of money that New York has, and they've yet to ever give a shit about renovating the Garden.
Shit, man.
That I agree with.
That's why they made the Barclays Center.
But they're never gonna go there. They're never gonna move the Knicks there
Right.
because
No,
it's the Garden.
You can't. But
You
Garden's
know
always
what?
gonna be open.
It's
They
like
redid
Fenway. It's like
Yankee
Fenway.
Stadium.
Like,
Well, they-
or
well, no.
like Wrigley Field.
Wrigley
But-
Field or Fenway.
The Steinbrenner guy,
All I know
Steinbrenner
is the
said,
Lakers gonna be-
I own that land. I'm gonna build a new stadium there, and then I'm gonna build a park for kids to play in next door, and I'm gonna use all that write-off to help me out. You know, that ton of money. The Knicks don't have any money. The Knicks,
You know when
they
the
haven't
Clippers
won
open
in
up
so
their
long.
Arena, Staples is gonna be the dump. that guy's gonna put so much money in that Clippers arena. He's putting billions.
Yeah.
He's gonna make Staples Center look like the.
And that's
No,
fine.
but
And that's
they'll
fine.
renovate the
Everyone's
Staples
gonna
Center.
go.
No,
Staples
no one's going to
Center's where the
Clippers. No one's
Kings
going to.
are.
Come on.
Yeah, that's where the Lakers
They
play.
don't
They're
go
gonna
there
have-
now. They don't go there. Look at the Clippers are the Clippers. You're going to build this giant Houston like the Cowboys, $50 million, where the fuck it was to build that stadium,
Yeah.
and they're still trash.
Right. But the whole point is, arguing about a stadium being shitty is not something that's going to keep people listening to the podcast about comic books.
Yeah. Look, you give the Blue Beetle.
Unless they're having a
Look,
convention
You
there.
give
So
the Blue
maybe
Beetle.
let that one go.
Yeah. You give the Blue Beetle a new writer. You give him a new artist, and you give him a new book. It's still trash.
No, like Beta Ray
Ow,
Bill and
you
Ghost
let
Rider.
me write that thing. You let me.
Like
if you
the
watched,
Barry Bill. What was the other one?
The Ghost Rider.
Oh. Ghost Rider.
Okay,
Trash.
if you watched my web series, by the way, it's called
good.
Blue Beetle
It's
Ted
good.
Cord Returns.
4 seasons.
I plotted this thing out. I created backstories, created new characters, brought in
Intricately.
old school Batman
But
characters
that's
to
but,
weave
that,
them
but,
in.
but that's how bad it is. Is that your shit is better than the shit they wrote back then? It makes it worse.
Well, here's the thing.
Would have been
Like,
great if I was in it.
some of them are bad. Yeah,
We
like
didn't know you yet.
like some of the stuff's
Nah,
bad,
it
but,
could've been in the
but
last season.
overall, Blue Beetle was done pretty well. It's just the stuff in the '60s that was,
The Charleston stuff.
yeah, some of it's a little bit like,
Racist?
a little, not so
No,
much.
that
It's
was good.
yeah.
it's more like just aged, It's just
Yeah.
old. So like they had to bring it up to date, and they thought that making him kind of a less of a serious character, more of a silly character, made sense, and it did because it created a Batman meets Spider-Man persona for this guy, for this Ted guy. So that's what I went with the web series. I based it a lot about that, and then just told the story of this character and basically ended it on a note where he's happy, he's in love, he's got a family now, he's, the original Dan Garrett's back, everybody's reunited, it just ended on such a good note.
And no
Every
Jaime.
plot thread was wrapped up. If you can find an open plot thread, let me know, because I'm pretty goddamn sure I wrapped up everything. I had everything written down, so I had these notes of, unlike the writers for Lost or for Game of Thrones,
Oh, yes.
I had everything written
Or,
down.
or the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Well, at least I had
Too easy,
everything
Finn.
wrapped up at the end, buddy. Like, so, take it for what you will. But I'm just saying, like, I finished that shit correct. I
Yeah.
came with this idea and I finished that shit correct.
Yeah.
So, other writers need to think about that shit when they're
Didn't
writing
you write the
comic
last
books.
episode of Sopranos?
Yes. Absolutely. That was totally me.
Episode?
By the way, that lost
Black?
to the A team, right? Like,
What the fuck, man? That you know what?
Although Lost, that was
we
yeah,
had
Murder,
we
She
had
Wrote,
a
Cowboy
live,
Car.
and we do this every Monday. We have live podcasts, and we bring on guests. And this just not long ago, we had Julio as a guest, and we had our buddy Chris Turner as a guest, and it was me and Kevin, and we were doing the Goliath of television dramas, and we just slipped some action films in there, series, and some old school stuff like Murder, She Wrote, Columbo, A-Team, stuff like that, right?
Right.
And Murder, She Wrote and A-Team ran away with it. And A-Team ultimately beat Murder, She Wrote at the end. But I swear to God, I thought
Yeah,
Murder, She
Murder-
Wrote was going to run away with it.
I thought that
I
too.
thought that bitch was going to kill everything.
Wow, how dare you call Angela Lansbury the B word?
No, bitch isn't a good name, dude.
Oh, I see.
Like you were saying, like it's like the bitch was gonna win.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Not
got you.
that bitch
I
won.
got you. I got
Or
you.
that's a big bitch.
Yeah.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
All right, all
dude.
right.
Murder She Wrote beat Law and Order.
Trash.
Oh,
Breaking
easily.
Bad.
Trash.
Yes, Breaking Bad.
No, but
Breaking
hold on.
Bad,
No, but
bro.
here it is.
You got some.
Sopranos.
your
When you
viewers
put
have
up-
some
wait.
strange ass taste.
No. When you it's the joke. When you put a bad show in a thing, people vote for what the underdog or to flop your thing around, right? It's
flopping my finger. Right?
But that's what I'm saying is that sometimes you get an unhonest vote because they're just voting to put something up there that shouldn't be there, right?
Oh yeah, some people were voting they didn't never seen it, but they hated the other thing so much.
Right.
Like a
And
lot of people
the
don't
guy
like Law and Order.
The guy who
It's like the ugly
built
kid getting the vote.
the guy who built the list didn't think it out and stuck Murder She Wrote that didn't belong there in the first place.
Are you looking at me?
It was either you or him.
No, it was totally me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I tried to balance it because I wanted
I tried to put Grey's Anatomy on there.
I wanted to try to get
Trash.
The Wire to meet
The
up
ladies
with
like Grey's
Breaking
Anatomy.
Bad.
Are you a lady?
Right.
I'm thinking about
So
our
I had to
ladies,
put
the
them on.
audience.
How
should've
many?
been-
How many ladies are in our
Old
our
ladies
audience?
are on the.
How many?
Yeah.
Name besides his mother. Name the ladies on the
Yeah.
podcast. There's like 4
Right.
of them.
There's Janet, Sammy, Bonnie sometimes, Angie, Maria, my mom, your
Sometimes I'm
dad's
wearing lady
girlfriend,
underwear.
wife, sorry. Sometimes somebody, Katie. Yeah, so there's like 7 or 8 ladies.
Sky.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sean
yeah.
identifies as a woman.
Yeah.
But he's never been on.
No, he's been on before.
Has he?
Sometimes
Maybe like
acts like
it's
a
been
man.
so long I forget.
Every now and again. Every now and again. But I mean,
This is
know.
why I don't go on. Walter bullies me.
Walter bullies
Matter of fact,
everyone.
Walter kind of bullies the podcast. He comes on these different weird names.
Let's not talk about that. Let's change.
Yeah, that's
that.
great.
You can talk about those names.
Those are
Yeah,
great.
yeah, we
Those are
can't
great.
say his name.
His last
on
name
the
was
air.
Gurr. Let's
Yeah,
just say that.
we can't do that. We can't do
Hey,
that.
freedom of speech.
Yeah,
Well,
well.
look, we're trying to keep the podcast at least PG-13 at least.
Right.
At
Oh,
least
yeah.
PG-13.
Right,
We've
right,
already
right,
gone
right.
by that. We've already surpassed that already.
It's true.
You guys are screwed.
Yeah.
Look, we don't want to go into
There's a
NC-17
flag.
territory now.
We are in NC-17 territory, Kevin. I've got my pants off.
Now, put your pants back on. Now.
Look at this.
No. Don't scare the children here.
Oh.
Look, you see? You
So, look,
traumatized
we're
them.
planning to do a live podcast at TorpedoCon.
At TorpedoCon, yes.
As you walk around and interview people and ask them, what do you feel is right when people price books when they're
Oh,
That'd
man.
be great. We could ask Jim Lee that.
we
when he thinks.
actually did that one year. It was me, you, and Jarrett.
Yeah.
And we went around to. We didn't ask the people. We just walked around to their booths, and if we saw ridiculous prices, we would pull up the book
Yeah.
and we video recorded it, and we were like, "Look at this overpriced piece of shit."
What was that guy?
And then we would set it back down and walk off to the
What was
next
that
booth.
guy? He was trying to sell me something. I don't know what was it. I forgot what Spider-Man.
We don't know. We weren't there. You didn't invite us.
Well, it's before we knew you. But it was something so ridiculous. He tried really hard to justify it. I can't remember. It was a book.
It was something with like it had a rolled spine.
Yes, had a rolled spine, but he made it sound like, this is extremely rare.
Right.
and-
He's like, it's not every day that like this is a miscorrect print like this.
Was it Julio?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's actually could
Was it
be,
Julio?
No.
No, it actually could be worth more money. It was like
Right.
this redheaded guy
Right.
with a beard or some
and,
shit.
And he
Oh,
was,
Big
he was
Red.
Yeah, but that's probably
yeah,
it.
that's probably it. But he was so straightforward.
Now his store is now Torpedo OC.
You're kidding.
Ah,
You're kidding.
ain't that funny? Yeah, so he was trying to
Pull fast
pull one
us.
over on Kevin, and we were like, nah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I
Fool me
walked-
once, shame on you.
right.
Kevin.
That's right.
The funny part is that when you because Torpedo OC comes on all the time, in between Torpedo Vegas, and a lot of times you can hear when they're talking about prices and how you gotta call HQ, man, you gotta call HQ. Really, fuck, like so you can tell that although they're considered Torpedo OC, their management crew is different, but they're starting to see how they're starting to send people from either side both ways to get them to be more aligned with each other.
Well, you have to. You absolutely have to. When your name's on the line, you have to micromanage that shit.
I don't think John cares. That's John, right? Julio?
What?
Torpedo?
Cares. I'm sure.
I'm sure he doesn't want anything negative going on. Or
Right. I
anything
mean, if
weird
they're over
going
there
on.
and they're like, oh, they're jerking people off in the parking lot for deals on books.
Have you been to either one?
Which one?
Torpedo.
No, I have not.
Either OC or Orange County?
I might have gone to the OC, but it wasn't Torpedo.
Not
Sean,
at the
have you
time.
been
If
up
we're
there,
thinking
Sean?
about the same store, right? What's
I have not been
is that
to
Jeffries?
OC.
Oh, Jeffrey's got bought by some other business.
No,
right?
that's
Heidi Ho.
Heidi Ho.
Oh.
Jeffries bought Heidi Ho.
Oh, did they?
Oh,
But
okay.
Jeffrey's, they changed management or owners
So
or
who
some
was
His
shit.
dad died. And so
That's it.
Jeffrey Jr.
Jeffrey's,
I'm thinking of
Kevin
going
and I
about
went
August
there,
6th.
and I got some of the best
For what?
deals on books I'd ever
No,
gotten
Jeremy
at
wants to go
Jeffrey's.
to.
Well, tell that
Green
to the
Ranger's
Leibowitzes and the
Orange County?
and the Jeffries.
No.
The Golden Apples and the
You gonna
Jeffries.
drive all the way there just
Everybody
for the
has
signing and come back?
good stories about Jeffrey
probably have
Senior
dinner.
and
They're
about
going in
Bill
November.
from Golden
Just for
Apple.
the day.
Yeah, I
But
heard so
nobody
much
really
about.
has decent stories about
The
Ryan or Jeffrey Jr.
You see, that's funny. I've heard so much ever since I moved here to LA about the old school Golden Apple when the original.
Oh, I get to see it once. When I was here, when I first moved out here, it was still the old school.
But
It was a great
location
place
on
to buy
Melrose
books.
location. But
Awesome.
that's about
It's a
the
great
original owner who
store.
passed away. He wasn't around. He was already.
You're
A
talking
long
about
time
Dead, by the way.
Yeah.
the one that was like 3 blocks from Fairfax High School.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was actually across the street from Fairfax
Yeah, yeah.
High School.
It was huge too.
Yeah,
It was
a
great.
It was a place.
It was
You
a great
go in
place.
there and like, and you would see stuff you never saw anywhere at any of the local stores out here.
Yeah.
You know, even the store, even their second location, their Valley location, it was just like statues and
Yeah.
books. The only thing you didn't see probably was keys because they probably kept those behind the.
I used
Yeah.
I used
No,
to
they
get-
used to have them along the wall
Yeah.
behind the plexiglass,
Yeah.
Right.
along the
They
top.
were- I don't remember big keys. I remember
No, not major keys.
I just remember-
$20.
I remember
$30.
I remember going in there and getting most of my books off their spinning rack in their store.
You see,
Nice.
You see, when I hear these stories, it makes me reminisce about my shop back in New York where I grew up back in the '90s.
Whoa,
Sure, your
whoa,
shop
whoa!
in Ohio.
I thought this is your shop.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
No.
years
But
earlier.
here's the thing,
It's
though.
basically the soul.
He has
Comic
to- he has
book
to
shops
actually-
need to have some soul.
Do you wish, Kevin? Do you wish you were like slightly older? Because like when we were growing up, when we were younger, the books from the '80s, when we started to get into comics, it was late '80s, probably early '90s, and that's
Right.
when the boom hit. So
Right.
like everything around then is still almost kind of worthless.
Right.
So, do you wish that we were born earlier because then like we would have gotten
Some of that
the
stuff.
like the Hulk 181s and 180s off the spinner racks and
Right.
stuff back then, because that would have been the cool book that
I don't
came
think anyone.
out.
I don't
You
think,
would've
wait, but I
destroyed
don't-
it.
I don't think anyone here is old enough to pull that book off the rack, right?
72.
Yeah, I wasn't even a thought yet.
I was 70.
I don't think
born in
anyone.
73.
I think anyone on this table was
Yeah,
old
you were
enough
like
to pull
an
that book off
infant
the
when it
list.
came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you wish that you were born in like
No, because
Late
we
50s,
die
early
sooner.
60s.
62?
Yeah.
Like if you were born in 1960, let's say, would you be like?
I can tell you what I wish. I wish I had this, or I had, I grew up in in baseball card era. Yeah, I did comics. Comics were my fun read, my back, folded up in my back pocket, and I took care of my cards, right? 'Cause,
Right.
But
Right.
in those days we had shitty cards. They weren't like they were on really good. I guess I can say card stock. I
They were
guess.
on that brown
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
the 80s.
With the
and
shitty gum.
and the shitty gum and
Tops,
they were and
Donruss.
they were
Toxic gum.
and they were like the blurriest pictures
Oh,
ever
yeah.
taken because they weren't really good quality,
Ken
off
Griffey Jr.
centered.
could barely see
Yeah,
them.
off centered, really bad quality. But you took care of them. The comic books was something I put in my back pocket, and all you ever talked about was because you didn't know there wasn't no that told you this is a look out, this book's coming in the future, the story's going here. You would just show up and you'd read the book and then you would know what was going to happen the next week when you got to pick up the new book,
Yeah.
right? Now nowadays you have conversation with people and says, hey, the new Scream book's coming out. It's going to be about the story.
It's about
Yeah.
6 issues into the future. You'll know
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah, when I was younger, I remember, like the shop, they would give me, the comic shop news. It existed back when I was young.
Yeah.
And also
So,
the preview book. I actually
right.
have some of those. The
Yeah.
preview book.
But the preview book, they'd make you pay for.
True.
Or they'd have a copy at the shop you could thumb through, but I never wanted to take the time. So I'd just get the comic shop news, and I'd read it on the can as a kid. Like, that was my
Yeah.
like my dad read the newspaper
What year was
on the
that? What year was
toilet,
that? Like,
and I'd read
Most
comic
people
shop.
bought, if you were
It's in the
an
80s.
older fan, you bought and read comic interviews, comic journal, or
Nerd.
comic buyer's guide.
Never read
You want to
that
talk about
shit.
nerd comics buyer's
And
guide?
speaking of which, these books
Those
are worth
were
money.
they have some stuff in there, but those were where you found out about upcoming storylines. That's where you found out about the Black costume.
Right.
Where
Or
you
like,
found out
what was the one with the Ninja Turtles one? The Real Heroes or
Heroes.
Amazing Heroes.
Amazing
Heroes,
Heroes. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a magazine
Yeah,
kind
and
of
they
a
all
comic.
had the same previews, information, and all that. And people would pour over that.
And
I
now
remember
people are killing each other. for
Well, the
that.
one
the
thing
one person we know in real life who probably could have picked up 181 is Big Sean, and he was reading those Amazing Heroes and all that, and looking, seeing what's coming out. I mean, specifically for his.
The one
book.
thing I got at my comic shop back in those days, or Golden Apple, was you'd always walk in and it'd always be, so and so's pick of the week. Whatever the comics are
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
Right.
or the shop would, and it'd have a copy of it, and it was the pick of the week. So you'd grab it and say, well, if he's picking it, it's got to be good, right? We don't have that here, but you go to any other shop, there's always someone's pick of the week. But now it's easier because they just put the spec of the week in the glass pick of the week. In those days, and then I don't know, I can't remember that far back. I don't think there was that many indie titles. It was always either Marvel or DC, right? There was maybe a couple.
My shop had the Image and Valiant stuff.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like in my days,
Oh. Late 80s.
late
remember
70s,
having-
late 70s, early 80s, like
Yeah.
79 to
Right side of the
84.
newspaper.
Yeah, I remember calling up my local shop and giving her my list. And she'd be like, okay, and next, and next. It was the most exciting phone call I made
During the week.
every week.
That's the only time you got to talk to a lady.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
I mean, I got most.
This was last week.
I
No,
got-
this
yeah.
was like, I was young. I was like 8 or 9 or something, and I was able to like call and do business. Like
You felt good, didn't you?
I was buying something off somebody, and they were like, they were working for me. It was almost like having an assistant. She'd be like, okay, and you want this one and this one? I'd be like, yeah, and this one, okay.
Imagine being
And-
the lady behind the counter being like, oh my god, another 9-year-old.
I'm sure, yeah.
Booster Gold, of course.
I'm sure. And here's the moment I'll regret. Like, I was like, I need to save money to move. And the moment I decided that I was going to move, I couldn't spend any money. And that's the moment that the lady at the shop said, my husband, who owns the shop, Mitch, he's actually going to stop collecting. And he wanted to know if you wanted to take a look at his collection and buy some of his books.
Really?
Now, Mitch had been buying books since like the 50s.
Oh my god.
So, Mitch had all the shit.
All the stuff.
And I said, no, I can't.
Why?
I should have said, I have some money in the bank, I'll be right over.
Why didn't you,
But I
sir?
didn't do
Why?
it because I wanted to follow my dream of moving to California. And
Yeah, how'd that work
You
out
know,
for you?
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What's
super
what's
well,
happening?
let me tell you. I'm a star now. I'm on several shows.
Yeah, and you still can't afford the
See,
keys.
yeah.
Right. I still can't afford the keys, but like that was the biggest mistake I think I made when I was young, like in my early 20s. Was like, I need to move. I got to save my
That's your
money.
second biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one was becoming friends with this
Oh
guy.
yeah, this
Oh.
guy.
But most of my books,
Forget
Yeah.
Kevin.
most of my books I bought were
That's
in
cold
3
blooded.
packs from like Kmart, because
Yeah.
it's a value, right?
Also
Right.
Costco. I used
Yeah.
to get those Costco packs.
Either
Man,
Fedco,
you motherfuckers rich enough to
Zodi's.
go to Costco when you were a kid.
yeah.
Kiss my ass.
But I'm
It
saying-
wasn't Costco back then. It was
wasn't
Price
that
Club.
expensive
Yeah, Price
for
Club,
us.
Price
Yeah.
Club.
Oh
It's
well,
Price Club.
they
Both
didn't
here
even.
in Valley.
First
Yeah.
of all, they didn't have
Fedco,
any Costco's
Price
where I was
Club.
from. You had to drive like 50 minutes to an hour north to get to a Costco, and then you had to pay to get in. Hell no,
Hey, to get in.
that wasn't
You
happening.
didn't remember.
They didn't do that to
Yeah.
us.
You had to have
Yeah.
membership.
You didn't have Fedco?
How'd
Yeah.
you get
You
in
need a
without a
membership too,
membership,
though.
Kevin?
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
Oh, that's because your parents didn't tell you they were rich and
Yeah.
had a membership.
They're not rich. How
Rich
dare
ass
you?
bitches.
How dare you?
All y'all.
But I mean, I used
How
to,
dare you.
I used to go to, Zodi's or
Zodi's.
Kmart.
Zodi's, what the heck's that?
It's
I have
like
no
it's like a
idea.
Target back.
It's like Kmart.
Yeah, it's like a better K, like a Target or a Walmart.
Zodi's had everything.
And I would go there, and they'd have on their little thing a 3-pack of comics, and that's what I would buy because it'd be like 3 comics for the price of 1, and that's where I would get my comics. So for me, a comic shop was like once a month visit. My dad would take me, and it would be like you were super excited. Now it's like, they're everywhere. Not everywhere, but
That was the 90s when they were everywhere.
There's a lot in the valley. There's a lot in the valley. Comic stores.
Oh yeah, the Valley and in
But some of
San
the-
Diego, there's a shit ton.
Shit.
some of the comic shops you
Shit.
go to now, it's a toy and card shop that sells comics.
Yeah, combination.
With that has like a booth in the back.
Yeah, you walk back there and like they got like it isn't like what's that place in Thousand Oaks or past Thousand Oaks? The
Arsenal?
Arsenal's huge. They got their walls huge of books,
Mm-hmm.
but their new issues are huge.
Back issues not so much.
Back issues horrible, and then their graded books or big books aren't there. But and then you go to other comic book shops and their back issue bins are fucking full, but they don't put them in bag and board, so they're all bent and folded and trashed up.
Yeah, look like
you
Kevin.
don't, yeah. So each shop owner is different in their angle and
Right.
getting customers or whatever.
Some shops have soul, some shops don't have soul. But this shop, We Can Be Heroes, has a lot of soul.
Yeah, We Can Be
And
Heroes
R&B.
has soul. All right, and that'll wrap us up. Thank you for tuning in for part 5 of Comic Shop Talks. Again, my name is Donald.
My name is Kevin, and great thanks to these wonderful panelists.
The what would you call it? Showtime? What was it? The
Comic Coalition.
the Comic
The Comic Coalition.
Thank you for tuning in, and if we don't see you out and about anytime soon,
Then we will see you at the righteous, lovely, and sweetest comic book shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.